They're highly secretive. They have knowledge they keep to themselves. They operate clandestinely, and they practice ancient mysterious rituals. They are secret societies. Are secret societies a hotbed of evil? They are certainly the subject of countless conspiracy theories. They are accused of pursuing a sinister objective, of seeking to rule the world. Perhaps, as many claim, they rule it already. Time and again, people sense perfidious conspiracies everywhere. But which of their suspicions are well-founded, and which are based on mere fiction, created by successful authors like Dan Brown? Secret fraternities have existed for thousands of years. Their members are in our midst, everywhere. Join us as we delve into the dark parallel world of secret societies. Marian Füssel is a historian from Göttingen in Germany. He is about to embark on a search for traces of the most influential and most secretive fraternities on our planet. Hermann Schüttler from Gotha is investigating the background of the legendary Illuminati, a mysterious secret society which originated in Germany. Andreas Hensen from Heidelberg wants to find out what influence the ancient mysterious cults still exert today. An April night on the east coast of America. Life for a young man is about to change radically. He has been selected by its members to join a secret organization that is extremely elitist. The order's initiation process is bizarre. The ritual is repeated every April and has been for the last 200 years. This secret society is based in Yale, the distinguished American university in upmarket New Haven, Connecticut. Marian Füssel has come to Yale, where many of America's elite have studied. How much truth is there in the rumors surrounding the mysterious student organization? Anyone who studies in Yale has virtually made it. But even experts puzzle over what happens in secret here.
One major question is, how does this fraternity manage to remain so secretive? In today's media society, especially, where many people are so communicative, it's striking that so little is known about the order's practices, its rituals, and also its membership. That's most unusual, and naturally provokes questions.
The fraternity's activities are said to be diabolical. The society's only goal, it is claimed, is absolute power. Every student would love to be asked to join, because membership is the springboard to a career. Anyone who is selected receives strange instructions.
Leave the Harkness Tower tomorrow evening at the time agreed, and go along the High Street southwards. You must not carry metal, nor sulfur, nor glass on your person. Take the right-hand book in your left hand and knock 3 times on the holy gate. Remember what you have heard here, but be silent.
For a novice, things will soon change forever. He will become a member of a secret society at the center of the wildest conspiracy theories. Marian Fussell is familiar with many of the myths and legends. And now, Alexandra Robbins is about to reveal more to him. She herself studied in Yale. After graduating, she made a detailed investigation of the fraternity and published a book on it. It took Robbins years to find out anything about Skull and Bones. Her research was viewed with suspicion.
I talked to more than 150 members of Skull and Bones. However, more than twice that many yelled at me or harassed me or hung up on me because they do not and they are not supposed to talk about what goes on inside. I did get threats from some members of the society that made me both uncomfortable and also more intrigued. Why were they so protective of this organization?
The Brotherhood of Death, as it is known, shuts itself off completely from the outside world. Even so, information can still be obtained. The archives in Yale's University Library contain documents from the early days of Skull and Bones. The secret society is 180 years old. That much is certain. It is said to have built up a key position for itself in the U.S. power structure and established its members in party and government office, in industry, and in the Secret Service. Up until 1970, its index of members was open to public inspection, but since then, it has been kept locked away. An entire panoply of secrets, weird customs, and abstruse rituals was thought up by William Russell, the student who founded the society. Russell came from a wealthy family. In 1832, Russell studied in Germany for a year, where, it said, was initiated into a student fraternity, of which Skull and Bones was a branch. The numbers 322 are always found beneath its logo. They could be a reference to one of the fraternity's models, Athenian orator Demosthenes. His rhetoric is legendary. Demosthenes died in the year 322 BC. Alexandra Robbins knows more. She has brought Marian Fussell to an old, forbidding building on the campus of the elite university. Known as the Tomb, this is the headquarters of Skull and Bones. The interior is said to contain ghoulishly furnished assembly rooms.
The inside of the tomb is lined with skeletons and skulls. It's almost like an obsession with death. And the reason they do that is because they have this phrase in the tomb, memento mori, remember that you must die. They like to pretend that they are apart and above the rest of the world.
Skull and Bones has cultivated this self-perception right from the start. Its members rise to the very pinnacles of power, like George Walker Bush, for example. When Bush contested the presidency with Democrat John Kerry, it was a battle between two bonesmen.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
Only rarely do bizarre aspects of the society become public knowledge. Inside the tomb, members are said to have their own standard time, which differs from ours by 5 minutes. It's believed that cutlery, which once belonged to Adolf Hitler, is preserved here. The Iron Ring of Silence is ideal for Hollywood fiction departments. With Matt Damon in the leading role, the manifold activities of Skull and Bones were portrayed in the film The Good Shepherd. It tells of rounds of confessions in the tomb. Biographical details and sexual proclivities had to be shown in graphic detail.
It wasn't an accident. My father killed himself.
No matter how insignificant, every detail of members' confessions is recorded in black books. They are the actual secret behind the success of the fraternity. It is the fear of publication that bonds members together. For the CIA, Skull and Bones is a wonderful reservoir for suitable employees. That, at least, is what is claimed. Very few can free themselves from this intimate embrace. So is psychological dependence on the confraternity one of the secret society's fundamental principles?
The boundaries between sects, between secret religious or secret political societies are becoming blurred. Naturally, by exposing personal secrets and personal weaknesses, perhaps, this society exerts power over its members. They know something. It's like secret knowledge within this group with which they could damage someone who, say, wanted to leave, especially in anger.
Secret societies always create a counterworld to what they regard as imperfect reality. And they seek contact with power. They themselves strive to exercise it. Marian Fussell has come to the heart of the United States, the world superpower. For conspiracy theorists, Washington, D.C. is honeycombed with secret societies. And it is not only bonesmen who are found in the top echelons of the U.S. government. There, Skull and Bones is said to compete with other secret societies. It was Freemasons who laid the foundation stone for the Capitol. And another fraternity is said to have infiltrated the U.S. administration in order to secretly rule the world. Conspiracy theorists claim that the New World Order is even immortalized on the Great Seal of the United States. The seal bears the words Novus Ordo Seclorum, Latin for New Order of the Ages. Those words are also found on every $1 bill. So is this secret society so powerful that it can print the symbols of its dominion on the most important banknote on our planet? Since 1862, the design of the American currency has been in the hands of the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. And in all the years since then, the appearance of the $1 bill has hardly changed. Only the security features are regularly upgraded. The United States prints 35 million banknotes every day, 5 million of which are the legendary $1 bill. Does a secret society really have its fingers in the currency pie, as the supporters of conspiracy theories claim? Marian Fussell has come to meet his colleague, Professor Robert Hieronymus, an expert in symbolism in the United States. Professor Hieronymus has made a close study of the $1 bill which differs from every other currency in the world. It is full of strange signs and symbols.
You need a magnifying glass to this. See this blue area above the stripes? It's definitely there. He doesn't handle this fracking thing very good.
The Eye of Providence, the symbol of absolute power. "13 stars above the eagle. 13 steps are said to correspond to the hierarchy of the secret order. And last but not least, a tiny animal, an owl, the symbol of wisdom. All just pure coincidence?"
Benjamin Franklin was a great teacher about educating people about our country, and he had felt very strongly that he could teach what was important about America through its currency, because everyone was handling it and would look at it, and they knew symbols.
Was Benjamin Franklin perhaps involved with the ominous secret society that uses the same symbols as a $1 bill? Marian Fussell wants to know more. Does a conspiracy really exist? Or is it merely a product of the imagination of those who suspect a secret behind absolutely everything? Fussell's research has brought him into contact with an old book. In it, the historian has found a familiar symbol, the owl on the American $1 bill. The owl was once revered by a particularly secret society, a sinister order known as the Illuminati. Written in this medieval-looking font, the name Illuminati is an ambigram, a word that reads exactly the same upside down. Monstrous things are ascribed to the Illuminati, material that has been handled skillfully by successful authors like Umberto Eco and Dan Brown. But who actually were the Illuminati? They, too, had to take a vow of silence. They were forbidden to speak openly about the society's rituals and aims. Here, too, different levels of hierarchy exist. Not 3, as in the case of the Freemasons, but as many as 13. And a neophyte has to pass through them all before he can be made privy to the greatest secrets. The brethren are encouraged to spy on and denounce one another. In this way, renegades can be quickly recognized and neutralized. Allegedly structured like a counter party, the order, it's said, focuses primarily on political intrigue and subversion.
The Illuminati have long stirred people's imagination, figuring in literature, the cinema, and other media for many years. Some people even claim that the Illuminati still exist today and clandestinely control politics, business, and various other fields.
The quiet town of Ingolstadt. This is where the legend of the Illuminati ruling the world originated. In the years leading up to the French Revolution, there was also foment in rural Bavaria. It was a time of radical change. People were seeking answers to pressing social problems. In Ingolstadt, Adam Weishaupt taught ecclesiastical law and practical philosophy. He was the only secular professor. His colleagues were all priests. Frustrated with church dogma and spiritual stagnation, Weishaupt wanted to introduce change. But how? People's heads were filled with the ideas of the Enlightenment, but there was also great uncertainty as to how they might be implemented. Within a few years, an enraged mob would spill blood and even execute Louis XVI. Adam Weishaupt welcomed the first signs of change in France, but he rejected violence. What he had in mind was something different. Weishaupt wanted to undermine the state from within, and he sought to achieve this with the help of a secret society. The first people he convinced of his idea of a perfect state were his students. His vision was of a state modeled on Athens, one based on reason, a concept totally in line with the ideals of the Enlightenment.
Wie soll das funktionieren, Herr Professor? Mit Waffengewalt?
Keine Revolution. Gewalt macht nichts besser. Dem Bösen die Hände binden, regieren ohne zu beherrschen. Darauf kommt es an.
Aber das ist doch unmöglich.
Keinesfalls. Man muss um die Mächtigen der Erde her eine Legion von Männern versammeln, die unermüdlich sind, für den großen Plan, die Menschheit zu leiten.
Adam Weishaupt wanted to set up a secret government, a monstrous idea even today.
Geheimbünde waren auch ein Sammelbecken für
Secret societies were also a melting pot for hotheads, for revolutionaries, for people who nurtured highly unusual ideas and who could express themselves within a fraternity without having to suffer persecution. People who could also discuss and try things out, perhaps on a small scale. That was a major motive for joining a secret society.
In the troubled times that preceded the French Revolution, secret societies also flourished in Germany, and the newly founded Illuminati made full use of the situation. They set up countless lodges and attracted hundreds of new members, especially academics. Their number included Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, the most famous writer of his day, philosopher Gottfried Herder, and influential educationalist Heinrich Pestalozzi. The Illuminati were well aware of the high risk of opposing absolute rulers, but they shared Weishaupt's passionate rejection of throne and altar. Weishaupt was convinced of his idea. Above all, though, he was convinced of himself. Self-opinionated, Weishaupt was seen as narcissistic and domineering. With his fraternity, he wanted nothing less than to change the world.
Das Ziel ist es, den Staat auf einen höheren Grad der Reinheit und Vollkommenheit zu bringen.
The supreme figure amongst the Illuminati demanded absolute loyalty from his members. We know from their records how clandestinely the Illuminati operated in those days. Stored at Friedenstein Palace in Gotha, they provide valuable insights into the inner life of the order. Perhaps Marian Fussell will discover here why the Illuminati gave themselves Greek cover names and why they introduced their own time standard. Historian Hermann Schuttler has deciphered and studied encoded Illuminati documents. A domineering character, Adam Weishaupt had a weakness for the ancient Athenians and their ideas. He valued their democratic principles. That is why he chose the Athenian owl as the symbol of his order. It stood for wisdom. The Illuminati believed that they were experiencing the dawn of a new era, and they wanted to participate in this positive transition. In Ingolstadt, Weishaupt forged a plan that was simply audacious. But he was successful. He had tapped the pulse of the age.
Change in society, in the church, in the state, can only be achieved with a longer-term project. Thus, Weishaupt wanted to educate people, so his was an educational project right from the start. But it would take time. Weishaupt said that 200 years could well pass before success was achieved, before the Enlightenment triumphed.
The secret organization grew in size. In its heyday, the Illuminati had around 2,000 members, all of them high-ranking representatives of society. Weishaupt specifically poached his men from the Freemasons. Despite its rich tradition, many lodge brethren found their association dull. The new secret society was more exciting and more radical.
Wir werden den perfekten Staat erschaffen.
The lodges were run with unsparing strictness. Like in Skull and Bones, members had to lay bare their private lives, a requirement some were at odds with.
The Illuminati, it seems, were very strict and hierarchy-oriented, and many people were put off by this. Friedrich Schiller, for example, refused to join even though friends of his were Illuminati. So sometimes the society also had this off-putting effect on people. Someone with the status of a prince of poets was not going to subordinate himself to a mediocre Illuminatus. In a secret society, too, that is simply asking too much.
The bigger and more influential the organization grew, the more resistance it faced. The absolutist rulers hit back, and those in power were helped by accident. In 1785, one of the order's couriers was taking secret papers to France when he was struck by lightning and killed. On his body, the police found a list of members. Only 10 years after being founded, the Illuminati were banned. Membership now carried the death penalty. Fearing for his life, Adam Weishaupt fled from Ingolstadt to Gotha, disguised as a craftsman. But did this really mean the end of the Illuminati? If so, why do people still nurture thoughts of them? That's perhaps because before he fled, Weishaupt succeeded in achieving another major coup. He established contact with leading figures in the United States. Hammond Schuttler knows of 3 letters written to Benjamin Franklin. In them, the Illuminati asked for permission to set up a colony in Elysium, their code name for the United States. But the old Illuminati records make no mention of what reaction the request received. The letters fuel fantastic speculation time and again. What if a number of Illuminati had escaped to the New World to implement their ideas there? Would it not then have been possible for them to influence politics in the United States? And couldn't the Illuminati then also have printed their symbols on the American $1 banknote? No theory seems too abstruse. Marian Fussell has taken another close look at the $1 bill, on which the owl is portrayed, the sacred animal of the Athenians and the identification symbol of the Illuminati.
Take a look at the front side.
Printed in Roman numerals is the year 1776, the year in which the Illuminati were officially founded. The Eye of Providence over the pyramid is a symbol which allegedly was also used by the secret society. Novus Ordo Seclorum means the new order of the ages. In other words, it clearly states the goal of the Illuminati. And why the number 13 is found everywhere? The secret society had 13 hierarchical levels.
I don't believe that secret societies have the power nor the interest to be able to rule any country on this planet. Instead, you have corporate powers, multi-billions, trillions of dollars within these corporate structures.
The stance adopted by the U.S. authorities is unambiguous. Conspiracy theories are all nonsense. The symbols, they say, have a harmless historical background and nothing to do with the Illuminati. 1776, for example, was the year when the American Declaration of Independence was written. But one thing is certain, the Illuminati are no figment of the imagination. Their founder, Adam Weishaupt, created the secret society to undermine the ruling class in order to seize power himself. But he wasn't alone in this. There were also the Rosicrucians. Back then, they too operated clandestinely. But their meetings are said to have taken a very different pattern from those of the Illuminati. The Rosicrucians were said to possess all the knowledge in the world and the potential to give people salvation.
Brüder, Jesus bedeutet mir alles. Freiheit des Evangeliums. Die Herrlichkeit Gottes. Meine Brüder, lasst uns beginnen.
The history of this mysterious society can be traced back to a legend. In the book Fama Fraternitatis, which appeared in 1614, it is stated that the members of a secret society had discovered the intact body of its deceased founder. His name, Christian Rosenkreuz. Legend has it that before he passed away, Rosenkreuz was made privy to ancient mysteries.
In reality, of course, this Christian Rosenkreuz never existed, but the character was cleverly chosen because it embodies the ideals and goals of the Rosicrucian order in an exemplary way. For every member, the figure of Christian Rosenkreuz is a kind of spur on the path to understanding, so it was well suited to motivating people to join the Rosicrucian order.
In the early 17th century, the Rosicrucians wanted to free society from the confines of its narrow order through diligent Bible study and alchemy. In this epoch between medieval religiosity and nascent science, alchemy, the art of making gold, was very much in vogue. The 30 Years' War was brewing. People everywhere felt insecure. They were questioning the Christian view of the world. Science offered more plausible explanations. This was the perfect breeding ground for a secret society.
The alchemists tried to preserve this magical world, to carry it over into the New World, also via secret societies. They held firm to the belief that there was a secret form of knowledge, a fifth state of matter, a quintessence, a philosopher's stone. All those terms date back to the time of the alchemists.
In the 17th century, the ideas of the Rosicrucians proved more and more people appealing, not only in Germany, but throughout Europe, including Cambridge, the center of rational science. Teaching at Cambridge in those days was Isaac Newton, one of the fathers of modern natural science. But he could not resist the lure of pre-scientific alchemy. Newton's study in Trinity College bears witness to this double life. During the day, Newton engaged in serious research, but at night, he turned to alchemy, hoping to find the mysterious philosopher's stone and make gold. Secretly, this scientific genius was very taken by the ideas of the Rosicrucians. Later, Newton was made a member of the legendary Royal Society, which had many Rosicrucians in its governing body. A mecca of scientific rigor, today the Royal Society has its headquarters in the heart of London. No one has any idea that it was Rosicrucians and alchemists who thought of establishing such a society. Historian Marian Fussell is looking for information on the history of the Rosicrucians. He has been promised the assistance of the Royal Society. Stored in a specially secured archive in the basement is a historical treasure, Isaac Newton's original manuscripts. This brilliant thinker saw the world we live in as a puzzle God left mankind to solve. For Newton, this involved not only natural phenomena and heavenly bodies, but also ancient civilizations and mysterious writings. Simply everything, in fact.
Newton, of course, we understand as being a great British scientist for his work on gravity and the laws of motion. So we get very excited when we find new Newton manuscripts. It doesn't tell you very much about science, but it tells you quite a bit about Newton.
Like the Rosicrucians, Newton was convinced that divine mysteries are inherent in nature. The Rosicrucians even speculated on the means by which immortality could be achieved. In London, Marian Fussell has been allowed to see what Newton wrote at Trinity College after nights of experimenting. It's the legendary scientist's main alchemistic work. Strange symbols, signs, and formulae abound. Whether Newton himself was a member of the Rosicrucians is a matter of dispute, but his work shows how captivated he was by the ideas of the secret society.
It's generally fascinating that someone who is seen as the epitome of the scientific revolution and the early Enlightenment should show as deep an interest in alchemy and occult science as Isaac Newton. All in all, Newton seems to have left behind more manuscripts dealing with alchemy and the hidden arts, so to speak, than actual mathematical and physical writings.
The Rosicrucians still reside in Vienna today. Since Newton's time, the AOR, the Ancient Order of Rosicrucians, has changed. Today, it presents itself with a new livery. Elias Rubinstein is the Grand Master of the Rosicrucians. He cultivates the ancient traditions of the secret society. Here in the temple, they perform their rituals. But what exactly do they engage in? The battle between the church, science, and esotericism ended long ago. So what or whom are modern-day Rosicrucians fighting for?
Es werde Licht und es ward Licht. Gerechtigkeit sollst du verfolgen.
The goals of the Rosicrucians are simple. We are working for the freedom of mankind. Thus, Rosicrucian doctrine is intended for everyone, not just for some elite class. The basic issues we work with are for the whole of mankind.
At the end of a long road, an insight is gained into the secret knowledge of mankind. At one time, those in power also felt drawn to it. At Schönbrunn Palace, Emperor Joseph II is said to have met with the inner circle of the Rosicrucians for meditation. But there is also a dangerous side to the legend of Christian Rosenkreuz. Esoteric sects have abused Rosicrucian ideas time and again. In the 1990s, members of the Order of the Solar Temple committed mass suicide in Canada and Switzerland. Over 70 people died. A suicide statement said, "We shall return because the Rosy Cross is immortal." Marian Fussell knows that the followers of the cult were convinced that their death merely meant transition to a better world. The general public had no idea what took place within the sect, which had sealed itself off from the outside world.
Naturally, the concealment and mystery that surround many secret societies are also highly suitable for manipulating members. They offer sect leaders in particular a way of securing even more power and of inveigling members to do all kinds of things they might perhaps not want to. In this respect, secrecy is always an ambivalent issue. It protects the society outwardly, but can further abuse within.
Legend has it that Christian Rosenkreuz drew his secret knowledge from the wisdom of the ancient Egyptians, a civilization countless secret societies refer to. Does some secret key to knowledge lie hidden in the ancient mystery cults? In Egypt, well over 2,000 years ago, a cult emerged, traces of which are still visible today, even in Germany. The mysteries of Isis and Osiris. The Nile is at the center of a saga that dates back to Egypt's very beginnings. After a long search, Isis found the body of her husband Osiris. He had been drowned in the Nile by his brother and hacked to pieces. Isis put all the body parts together again and magically breathed new life into Osiris. Isis was a kind of superwoman and supermother, and precisely that is the secret behind the cult's success. From Egypt, it spread throughout the Roman Empire, even to far-off Germania. The Isis cult was sensuous. So often, women were also present in the temples. This sensuousness was previously unknown to the Romans. In the temple, novices were ritually sprinkled with water. After this purification, they experienced a mystic journey through the realm of the dead and to heaven, returning to earth as divine creatures. Rebirth was a major theme, as it later was with many other secret societies. The Isis cult was appealing, and it became increasingly popular. Isis adherents established countless temples throughout the Roman Empire. In Pompeii, they survived. Relics that have been found provide an insight into the activities of the Isis cult. The mysterious import from Egypt caused a furor among the normally so prosaic Romans. In Rome, Marian Fussell has met his colleague Andreas Hensen. Hensen is an expert on ancient cults. Very little of the once pompous Isis temple has survived. This marble foot was part of a huge statue. The Egyptian goddess was also a superstar in Rome.
The Isis cult clearly served an important need. It dealt with the question of what happens to the soul after death and the best way to prepare the soul for the hereafter. What is more, people were fascinated by the rich symbolic language, by symbols they didn't really understand, and by the exotic character of the culture. In that respect, the Romans were no different from people today. The
Isis cult established itself on all levels of society. Its success stemmed from the fact that women felt particularly at ease in an ISIS temple, because in ISIS communities, men and women were regarded as equals. Quite astonishing in the male-dominated world of Rome. Exotic origins, complex, mystically charged rituals. There is no doubt that Isis, the mother of all, had just what it takes to be an imperial super goddess. People found solace in their mystery cult. They sought salvation from a doleful existence. The hope of a blessed life after death played an important role.
Even on entering a secret society, people experienced something akin to a rebirth. They became a new person. They assumed new characteristics. They belonged to a totally new circle. Their old life was left behind, thus the ritual of rebirth, as practiced in the Isis cult, for example, and in other cults, is a perpetual element of religions, secret societies, and other associations.
In the end, however, the Isis cult could not withstand the challenge from Christianity. In AD 354, all pagan cults were banned in the Roman Empire. From then on, Christianity was to be the sole religion for its citizens. Yet one cultural legacy of Isis remains. Andreas Hensen has brought Marian Fussel to the Church of Santa Maria sopra Minerva, which is decorated with Freemason symbols. The image of Isis holding the infant Horus lives on in pictures of the Virgin Mary holding the infant Jesus. The mystic ideas of Isis priests also survive the destruction of the temples.
The ancient mystery cults often served as points of reference for secret societies which came later, like the Freemasons and the Illuminati, who tried repeatedly to extend their own history back to ancient traditions. They clearly saw this as an important way of authenticating their own history. If societies could refer to ancient models and traditions, that would, to a certain degree, bolster the dignity and prestige of their own project through to the present day.
Skull and Bones, Illuminati, Rosicrucians, Freemasons, ISIS disciples. Secret societies bear many names. For thousands of years, they have also been a part of human civilization. They operate in our midst, meeting needs which otherwise cannot be met. They are surrounded by a wall of silence, which results in secret societies themselves being the biggest enigma of all.